Okay, well, thank you all. I'm really excited to be with you today. This is probably one of the first true hybrid presentations that we've given. We've done a lot of online presentations and a lot of in-person presentations, but I think it's quite exciting to be part of something like this because it's going to be probably a lot of what we see in the future. So as you know, the folks on the phone here are from Ernst & Young EY, and we're very excited to be talking to you a little bit about kind of the day in the life of us and the kinds of things that we go through. Technology risk is not something that's as well known in the recruiting market as something like assurance attacks, especially at a school like Bentley. And so it's really important for us to be able to get the word out there as to the kinds of work that we do, the really exciting clients that we work with, and make sure that you have that information going into it. And then obviously answer any questions that you have related to the work, the recruiting process, and so on. And so my name is Scott Rao. I've been with EY for 6 years now. I had done an internship before then. I've been coming to speak at the Sandbox since I started at EY, and I'm really excited to be back. Maybe Anya, could you give yourself just a quick intro and then we'll hand it over to the other folks from EY?
Sure. My name is Anya Kleonsky. I'm also a manager in the technology risk practice. I've been with EY. This is my 6th year, or I'll be going into my 6th year. I've also primarily worked on the same account with Scott over the last few years and been also doing the Sandbox since I've started at UI, and I just love doing this event every year. I'll hand it over to Warren to introduce himself as well.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. This is Warren from EY. I'm a staff 2 in the EY technology risk practice. It's my 2nd year with EY, and I graduated from Bentley just a year ago. So I actually knew the kind of the hybrid program because I used to be a teaching assistant when I was a student at Bentley, and I used to be, I used to help the professors with the Zoom technology. So it's good to be back virtually.
Lovely. And then I think Kristen doesn't need any introduction, but maybe Kristen, would you and Kelsey give a quick update or a quick intro for yourselves?
Sure. Hi, everybody. Kristen Schmidt, campus recruiter. I've been around the block here for almost 10 years, so know Bentley very well. I will chime in at the end after the presentation to talk to you guys a little bit more about recruiting, our cycle, our application deadlines, what you maybe would be interested in applying for. But obviously, feel free to drop any questions in the chat as we go. I'll be monitoring the chat to answer any questions as well. So back to you, Scott.
Thank you so much. And then we have lovely Kelsey helping us with the producing. So thank you, Kelsey, in advance for your help.
Of course.
Okay. Warren, you want to take us through the deck, please?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our case study presentation. In today's session, we will deliver a presentation about EY, our consulting service line, the technology risk practice, and our recruiting timeline. After that, we will go through a case study related to the technology risk practice, and hopefully, this activity can help you better understand what we do as a technology risk consultant and what a career in EY consulting looks like. Let's go ahead and get started. As you may know, EY is one of the Big 4 public accounting firm, and we deliver assurance, consulting, and taxation services to our clients by providing the strategy, technology, cybersecurity, digital risk, analytics, talent, and managed service solutions to our clients. Our consulting service line helps to grow, protect, and optimize our clients' businesses. EY consulting is definitely transforming the way the clients view their businesses and transforming the consulting and the auditing industry. As you can see in this slide, the consulting service line can be divided into 3 major categories: business consulting, technology consulting, and the people consulting. We have more than 89,000 professionals across the world, and we have a total of 12 billion global revenues last year. On the right-hand side of the page, you can see We have won, many awards in the past year. We were rated as one of the 100 best companies to work for in 2021 by Fortune. We got the Inclusion Index Company Award, and in LinkedIn, we got the Top Company Award as well. EY is a company that really value inclusion and diversity. We have people with different backgrounds and people from different countries, and the different perspective our people bring into EY really set us up for success. We have formed alliances with many big corporations, and you can see a lot of technology companies in this screenshot. EY has a keen interest in investing in new technologies, and with innovation in mind, it really helps us grow as a technology-oriented firm. In collaboration with our business partners, we help our clients unlock new value through business transformation. In this page, you can see a detailed breakdown of our consulting practices. As you can see, we provide many different kinds of services and solutions to our clients to help their business to thrive. Our technology risk department is under the business consulting service line. When you apply for jobs on our website, you may see those, some of those department names popping up, and hopefully this page can also help you when you apply for jobs at EY. So we have seen a high-level overview of our consulting practice in the market and how we help our clients in the transformative age. Now let's go a little bit deeper into EY consulting. Here are the topics that we will cover in the second half of this presentation. Okay, let's start from the first section. What skills and characteristics are we looking for? As consultants, we assist our clients with their business challenges and IT challenges and help them meet their business objectives. Therefore, it's pretty important, for consultants or IT auditors, to have problem-solving skills and communication skills to meet those challenges and provide solutions to our clients. The questions regarding, numerical and analytical skills is also a really good one. As I mentioned previously, we live in a transformative age, and the big data is certainly the trend right now. EY really embraces the emerging technology, and we really encourage innovation and reward, disruptive ideas. In our team, for example, we have a innovation team. We work on process automation, data manipulation, visualization, and so forth. So if you already possess, data analytics skills, or even you are just passionate about data analytics, a career in EY consulting would be the right for you. Let's go to the next bullet point. How will I know if a career in EY consulting is right for me? Does the idea of tackling, complex business issues energize you? That's a really good question to ponder about, because we work with our client and provide solutions to them. It's kind of like a day-to-day activity, right? The second question: do we want to help the world leading brands shape their business? As you know, EY is a global company, and many of our clients are, leaders in their industry. So if you join the firm as a consultant, you will have the opportunities to work with those, leading and global corporations, help them with their business and IT processes, or even learn from them at the same time. So if you would like to go into the consulting or auditing world and are willing, to learn the leading practice in the industry, joining EY consulting would be a pretty good start. Let's move on to the last several points here. Are you collaborative and high performing? Are you agile and adaptable? The working environment in the consulting industry or in the auditing industry, it's pretty fast paced, and As I mentioned earlier, we work with different people and take on different challenges every day. So being collaborative and adaptable is also quite important. Do you thrive on traveling and working with new people regularly? That's also a really good question to ponder about. As consultant, we do travel if there's a need, to work from the client's office so that we can, communicate directly with our clients. But right now with COVID, travel is currently kind of out of the picture. But if you do like traveling, if you like meeting new peoples, it will be a big plus after, things get back to normal. So. Okay, let's move on to the next section. In the following slides, we will give you an overview over our consultant program for campus hires using the stories our EY people as examples. Let's start from the risk consulting program, which is under the under the technology risk department. As part of this program, you will have opportunities, to understand clients' business and IT processes and the risks and controls related to those processes. As you may know, risks and controls are critical success factors for all major business initiatives, and working as an IT auditor or technology risk consultant, you will work as a kind of like a bridge between the IT people and the business people, to help the clients, align their IT strategy with their, business objectives. Especially, in the Boston region, you will also have chance, to work with our assurance people, because one of the major area of our work is to support our, audit practice. In terms of the business consulting program, our business consulting service line helps our client evaluate their business processes or functions and recommend areas for greater efficiency. In the example, the business consultant was able to analyze, the pain point within the client's business process, and then tackle the pain point and then, help the business process to be more efficient and effective. Let's move on to the next page. Our technology consulting service line, helps our client with IT transformation, cybersecurity, digital transformation, and so forth. So it is a slightly, more technical service line, and it will be a big plus if you have some prior experience or knowledge in IT or data analytics. So next slide. So in this slide, you can see the key recruiting date for autumn 2021. The application deadline is October 8th. And if your resume got selected, you will receive a pre-recorded interview invite. If the pre-recorded interview got selected again, it will be scheduled with a couple EY people to do I think it's a video interview. Correct me if I'm wrong, Kristen, but. Okay.
Yeah, and I mean, like Kristen mentioned in the beginning, at the end of the presentation, we'll definitely take a couple minutes so that she can go through the recruiting process in a lot more detail. I'm sure a lot of you have that information from the career fairs, but we want to make sure that everyone's on a level playing field and has that. So we will definitely come back to these details because they're very important. But maybe what we'll do is we'll take any questions related to the topics that Warren just went through. And we can also go through the case study, make sure you get that information, and then come back to recruiting specifically.
Okay.
So with that, any questions from what we went through? I mean, obviously, that's a pretty high-level overview of what we do in a day-to-day, the kinds of service offerings that are within the consulting service line, but anything that anyone wants to ask about? And I think if Mark has, I don't know if there is anyone, then we just need to turn the microphone back on in the room. Okay. That sounds good. It doesn't seem like there are any questions, but obviously we can come back to that later on if anyone wants to bring up anything. Anya, would you like to take control of the screen and share the case study? Or Warren can do that too.
Oh, I can do it. Let me just see. All right. All right, perfect. So just want to make sure that everyone can see my screen.
Yeah, maybe just zoom in a touch.
You got it.
I'm sure it's quite big in the room, but just in case.
I am sharing it on my other monitor, so I apologize. It always zooms out on me. So just to make sure so everyone can see it. So I'll give everyone a couple of minutes to read through this. This case it's not anything real. It's just an example of kind of what we would do, especially at the beginning of one of our audits. We would start and meet with the client, kind of go through a walkthrough, which is just walking through our understanding of a process. And it would go something similar to this. And then we would document our understanding of that walkthrough. So take a few minutes, read through this, and then let us know if you have any questions. And then once we're all squared away, we'll have some breakout rooms and you and your teams can map out how you would think this process would look like in a flow.
Yeah, we can go through the specific tasks when we set you up for the breakout rooms, but it looks like it's 21 past the hour. So what does everyone think? Maybe at sort of 27 or 28 past the hour, that should be enough time to get through? Cool.
I'd say so. Perfect.
Maybe 27 past was a bit aggressive. Is anyone still reading that they need a little bit more time? Okay, maybe Anya, you want to just talk about the breakout rooms and we can move forward?
Definitely. So I guess before I move on and talk about the breakout rooms, I want to see, does anyone overall have any questions about what they just read? Something seems like it doesn't make sense, or is everyone kind of okay and think they're ready for the breakout rooms? Cool. I'm going to take the silence as we're good to go then. So what we'll do next is we'll split up into breakout rooms accordingly, and you and your groups will just go through this case exactly, and we'll try to map it out in a process flow, and you can make that however you want. If you want to make that in Excel, in a Visio, a PowerPoint, a Word, whatever you find easiest to do that. And you and your team will just map out exactly the process. So what's step 1, what's step 2, what's step 3, while also identifying the risks within the process. So if there's any, is there a risk of someone not maybe getting the access correctly or something along those lines? And you'll just pop that into your process flow as well. And then the next task would be to prepare, like I'd mentioned, that data flow diagram to reflect the process. And then as a challenge to see if anyone can also figure out a good way to automate this or make it more streamlined so that there isn't as many manual steps within that process. So before we have you break out into your separate groups, does anyone have any questions on that?
And we'll also bounce around into the individual breakout rooms. It probably makes sense. I think there were 4 people in the classroom, so maybe you can group together as one group, if that's okay with you. But then for the folks on the call, Kelsey will help us break everyone out into breakout rooms, and then Anya, Warren, and I can bounce around to get to know everyone a little bit better, and then obviously just talk through the process that you work on. I'd suggest probably taking a screenshot of this so that you have the case study as you go into your breakout rooms, because you might not have access to this anymore when you go to that. But if that works for everyone, then maybe Kelsey, you can break us out. And I think maybe let's just put it for, what do you think, Anya and Warren, maybe 25 minutes or so, and we can go into the groups. And obviously if people finish up a lot sooner, we can come back sooner, but I don't want to rush people through.
Absolutely.
Kelsey, is that okay with you?
Yep, that sounds good.
Lovely. Okay.
I'll open the rooms now.
You pulling it back. Mark, I see you. The people in the room, can they also hear us? Great. Okay. So Anya, maybe you could just talk us through a little bit about what we want to debrief, and then for the folks in the room, maybe you can talk us through at least the beginning part of not necessarily how you drew out the process, but what you found about the way that you went about identifying the process flow and the risks and controls and that kind of thing. And we can just bounce a couple ideas off of each other.
Definitely. So as you all had read, Scooter is a new user application, and it's used for anyone that is a new user or is requesting any kind of modified access, where you, the user or your manager, would submit the request on your behalf to the IT help desk, and then that request approval that email has to include your manager's approval and specify the specific role or permission that you're looking to get. And then the IT help desk then will review that request, make sure it's accurate, and then they'll process it accordingly. So some of the risks there, and I know the group that I had spoken to had brought this up, was, well, what if there's any kind of human error? What if whoever is processing it doesn't process it correctly? What if your manager submits it for an incorrect role and you don't notice, or an incorrect permission, or vice versa? You're the one that's typing it. You just have your manager's approval within there, and you accidentally say, I needed role X, but that's higher than what you should receive if you're only in role Y. So those are some high-level risks that I would see there. Does anyone have any other risks that they didn't see? Anything that you would agree with me? Anything you wanted to build off from there before we move on to the data flow diagrams? There's no wrong answer, I promise.
I think maybe they just work in unmuting their mic.
Definitely.
Mark, just because we can't see the room, is there anyone in the room that wants to just talk to us about some of those risks?
Yeah, we're going online now.
So there we go.
Would you just like us to go over what risk we identified or the organization chart? I'm sorry, we missed the question on you.
Oh yeah, no problem. I can repeat that. So I was just saying, what are some risks that you had identified, and what were some of what can go wrongs that you had also identified that, if someone can get access without the approvals, just talking through that first task.
So with Ali, when we were doing the organization chart, Ali had realized that there are a lot of steps to this process of just getting permissions to this pair application, and that there almost are too many steps that there's bound to go something to go wrong in that. We started with user filling out request for permission, manager review and approve the request, manager sends over approved request, the IT desk reviews the request, IT desk then reviews the organization chart to make sure that the correct permissions are being given, and then should everything check out, then the request will be approved. And then, like you said before, with the human error, and like Ali said, that there are kind of too much stuff going on to get permissions to where it needs to go. And also, I'm sorry, what's your name? Jim. What he has said is that it can almost be streamlined, and that it needs, like, this process seems kind of slow to get permissions. And let's say there's something that needs to be done. If you're waiting to get permissions or hear back from the IT desk, you can't get the stuff that needs to be done until you get what the IT desk needs to get done. So it's almost too much going on for this to actually work efficiently.
Yeah, also with so many people in the process of and they all have this piece of paper, we thought that they're just more likely that something may get leaked, just because there's just so many people involved, you don't know, and then something might happen.
Yeah, and with such sensitive information like a pair application, it kind of is important.
Definitely. And then I'm not sure if anyone else had any other risks or what could go wrongs that were different from that.
I think a couple other folks, unfortunately, Zoom seems to be not really cooperating, and so a couple other folks were kicked off. Maybe they've been able to rejoin, I'm not sure. But unless we hear, I think we can just assume that they've been struggling to get back on.
Okay, in that case, we can move on to task number 2. So creating a data flow diagram to reflect the new user process. So I realize that since you're all together, you might have created it over a piece of paper. So do you want to just talk us through kind of the steps you had created? And then I can also share an example one that we'd put together. Again, there's no right or wrong to this. It's really however what makes the most, I guess, truly logical sense to you. So do you want to talk through it if you guys have it in front of you?
Sure.
You can hold up the camera, show what you did.
Well, yeah, it's kind of my hand on the and also, but me, Ali, and I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm Jim. I joined in a bit late, so I was not here for this process.
Not a problem.
So we said that the scooter could be have mostly automated factor that has some manual components to check on it, but we said that it could be, the application could be the request could be all automated, so that the program itself, Scooter, could check. So you could, and I was saying to Ali, I understand what the manager review and approving the request is for in this process, but if you automate it, you kind of wouldn't need that, because the program itself could check the employee's rank and position and say, if this is employee X, they need permissions X, they don't need permission Y. So if employee X is asking for permission Y, do not give employee permission Y. because they're not in that position. And so if you have an application like that, sorry, it's a little loud here. If you have an application like that that can check the employee and then check for permissions that that position should have, then you don't need, you can streamline it and you don't need to kind of go over all of that.
So it's mostly automated, and then at the last part, the IT person they do it like separately, and then they go and just refer to what the computer did and see if there's any errors.
Yeah. Definitely. So you guys kind of combined 2 and 3 there. That's really good. I think it is important to think about, ways to automate these processes, especially in a lot of banks. We see that sometimes they are a bit behind what we would hope. And I think helping them, automate is great. That was really good. I guess, Scott, should I just show the solution that we had created just for reference?
Yeah. If you want to bring it up, and then just for those of you, like Anya said, this is a proposed solution. It's our interpretation. There's definitely no right or wrong. The whole purpose of this experience, like Anya introduced, is to try and give you a little bit of insight into the kinds of things that we do on a daily basis. Obviously, we're not sitting around drawing process flows all day. There's lots of things that we do. But it all revolves around getting to know our clients, the processes that they have in their institutions, and then some of the risks and controls associated with it. So it comes down to some critical thinking. It comes down to understanding industry norms, the underlying risks that are related to those, and kind of the big picture thinking. So, you may think that drawing process flows is not truly invigorating and something that you want to do day in and day out, and that's definitely understandable. But having the very foundational understanding of what the process is comes from the process flows. Generally, those are quite established, and so we use them to build our knowledge. But I mean, I'll let Anya talk through the process flow, but this is just an example of what we interpreted it to be.
Yeah, exactly. So in this case, we don't necessarily have we haven't added anything in terms of automating the process. So we'll just note that there. But we have it just flowed out in Visio. I just PDF'd it just for aesthetic reasons, but we slid out that the requester would submit their new or modified user access to his or her manager. And in that request, the requester would specify the roles that they're looking for the Scooter application that user would require, where it would then, the approver would review that access request. And if they approve it, they'd send their email approval back to the requester and attaching that form. And if they deny it, then they would let them know that they need to submit a new one. So here we then just have a decision tree, whether or not it was approved. If it wasn't, it would go back to the first bubble. And if it was approved, it would continue on, where the requester would then submit that new or modified user request to the IT help desk along with their manager's approval. And then it would move over to the administrator, so the IT help desk, where the IT help desk team would review the request and confirm that it's the appropriate approval by referencing the organization chart or an HR listing, something along those lines, to confirm the approver's rank. And if it's appropriate, then they would go ahead and process it. And if it's not, they would return it back. And we see here, it goes back to and under the decision tree here again, it goes back to the very first bubble where the user needs to resubmit their request. And then at that point, if the appropriate approval was obtained, the IT help desk would then provision that access along with the documentation that was provided. And that would be the end of that process. I just wanted to see, I know it was pretty quick and pretty high level. So I wanted to see if anyone had any specific questions about this, or if they wanted to talk through maybe something differently that was done differently than what we had, and if that, like, what that reasoning is.
See a couple of head shakes. Maybe, Anya, I think if you scroll down, you'll also see some of the controls and the risks that we had there. So this is just a formatting thing. It's a little bit neater to put the legends, the little bubbles in the screen, and then write out the risks and controls below. But it's just a formatting thing that we think makes it look a little bit better.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So is the reason you didn't do any automating is just because this is the standard way to do it, and it's difficult to put the automated system in?
I think a lot of it comes down to the automation was almost like a bonus point in this exercise. Oftentimes we do have lots of processes that are already automated or that we would, help work with for automation. In this particular exercise was more just a discussion piece for us all to talk through, which you all did very well. So that was the reason that it's not in the placement right now. Okay, so I know we're not too far away, and I know that your activity block ends, I think, in 15 minutes. So unless there's any questions around the work that we went through today, the presentation, or anything for Warren, Anya, or I want to make sure that we leave some time for Kristen to give us an update on recruiting overall and make sure that any questions you have for her are answered. So any final questions for the three of us before Kristen takes over?
So for you guys who work like in this division of UI, like what would you say would, how do I know? I'm thinking about this. So for you guys who work in this division, like what did you guys, I guess question, what do you guys major in, and like what would you say is the best kind of things to do here? Because I'm only a freshman, so it's the best thing to do here to get to the point where where you guys are at in your position.
Sure, that's a really good question. Maybe I'll try and answer that first. So I majored in corporate finance and accounting, and then I did my MSA at Bentley, same with my undergrad. And so I took one class of IT over the course of my 5 years at Bentley. So I have very little IT exposure, but I was lucky enough to get a job within this department, which has an IT focus. And a lot of that knowledge that I've been able to gain since then has been on the job coaching. So at EY, we have a really, really big focus on making sure that our people are supported by our teams. We have lots of training, we have all that kind of stuff. And so learning from that to help make me, hopefully a halfway decent auditor. But the reason that I bring that up is, while it's obviously great if you are able to have either an IT focused major or minor, or you have IT focused classes so that you get that initial experience, I don't feel like it's a requirement for you to be able to excel in this particular career. It's really about your attitude and your ability and thirst to learn. I'm not sure, Anya or Warren, if you have a different perspective, but I think that's I've seen be true very, very often.
Yeah, I'd agree. So I graduated from Bentley back in 2016. I graduated with, I'm just trying to think, I had a degree, I did my undergrad in finance and in the global, what was it called? The global studies. Thank you, Scott. I can't remember anymore. And I had a minor in math. So I also wasn't heavily IT background when I joined. But I think, like Scott said, we have a really great training program when we start. And I think it's also really about how motivated you are to learn. When I joined, I really felt like I didn't want to fall back behind from anyone else in my class that might have had more IT experience. So I took those extra trainings, and EY offers so many different learnings of different varieties, whether it's more job related or just more skills based. And that really helped me also. Yeah.
Yeah. And for me, I graduated with a master's degree in accounting analytics. It's kind of like the graduate version of ISAC major, if you know that. It's the Information System Audit and Control major for undergraduate students. So I do have some IT background, in combination with accounting background. When I was at school, I feel like IT audit is going to be a huge industry in the future, because more and more processes, especially accounting processes, are being automated. And I feel like it's really a good career path for me, because I kind of have some IT background and I'm interested in accounting. That's kind of the reason why I chose technology risk and IT audit. But again, in EY, we welcome people with different backgrounds. We have people with or without IT background, and as long as you are interested in consulting, interested in audit, you have the passion to learn, and to work with those, big organizations, our clients, then, that's a right job for you.
I wanted to ask from definitely a different perspective that I have an IT background, that I'm a CIS major, and in that sense, I want to ask what opportunities would I have to grow, because I think trainings like IT trainings might be something I might be proficient in, but what other skills would I be able to develop at EY as an individual, and what skills should I come into EY besides perhaps my IT background?
Anya, you want to take that one or you want me to go?
I can give in my 2 cents, then you can add in, I guess, if you as feel necessary. So I think that, you know, where there isn't a specific skill set that we look for, I think it's really, at least in my opinion, it's really just how excited you're to be there and how motivated you are. I think we're always looking for people that are big team players. Everything we do is project-based and team-based. And I think that plays the biggest factor. So I wouldn't stress, you know, if you don't think you have like this skill, or if you already have a certain other skill, everyone gets the same training when you start. So it's kind of just a baseline. And then from there, it's just being open-minded and being willing to learn what you need to learn.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Just one last question. So for you guys, like, just kind of maybe a broader question, but like, how's the workload, you know, as, you know, younger people, you know, how are you guys feeling, you know, working at EY and, you know, the hours and stuff like that, kind of a broad sense of the job, like, yeah, like the workload and the hours.
Warren, would you like to take that one? I think you, out of the three of us, are maybe the youngest, so you probably have a little bit more direct relationship to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. You know, I joined the firm a year ago, and you know, we have a campus recruiting program, right? We hire a lot of young folks from college every year. So it's we do have a lot of young professionals at EY, and especially in EY, you know, we have a kind of like a people-centric culture, and it's really easy to establish some good connection and good relationship with my colleagues, because we are at the same age, we are interested in the same stuff, and we always have always have topics to chat, you know, outside of the work. And as part of our team, we also, you know, organize a lot of, you know, team events outside of the work to help people, you know, stay connected, especially, you know, during the COVID time. It's kind of basically work from home is kind of like the default right now. So it's kind of hard to keep people connected. But I think our team did a really good job in that regard. You know, we actually have a team dinner coming up tomorrow. So.
Yeah, and then maybe just building onto that part of your question was asking about workload. So I think you're going to hear when you talk to any company, a lot of your questions will be client specific or project specific. And so depending on your client and the year ends that they have, or the reports that they're trying to issue, or the projects that they're trying to have work done on, it's going to depend. So you'll have some crunch times, and that'll be the same whether you're working in finance and there's bond issuances, or you're working in a monthly close in accounting, or if you're working in an audit, and there'll be a year-end close and so on. So there will always be crunch times in any job. I'm sure even Mark can relate to that. When he's got grades coming in, there's lots of times that he has to work a couple extra hours to make sure that everything happens the way that it needs to. But I think where EY distinguishes themselves from my friends that work at other companies that I've seen is when we are calmer and things are quieter, you have a ton of opportunity to take time off, try new things, go to trainings, do all that extra stuff. So with any job, there's going to be times when you have to work a little bit extra. But where I think EY really does a great job is in the times when you don't have to work all that time. You work less hours and you do the trainings and you take vacation and you rebuild. Like we get the 4th of July week, the whole week is off. We get that the entire US firm shuts down because generally the summer's a little bit calmer for us. We get a 4-day weekend for Memorial Day and Labor Day instead of a 3-day weekend. So the firm really does a lot to try and help when things are calmer, generally over the summer, to reward us basically for some of the other times of the year where things are a little bit busier. Hopefully that helps answer your question. Good. So I do know that your activity period is about to end. So I want to make sure, Kristen, if there's anything from a recruiting perspective, you have your opportunity to bring that up.
Sure. Thanks, Scott. Awesome. So just wanted to give a little bit of a heads up as to what our recruiting cycle looks like. So we are actively recruiting right now for all of our consulting positions, including those that Warren and Anya and Scott discussed today. So, you know, a variety of different technology related positions, and that includes everybody from accounting majors within IT minor to computer science. So the postings are posted on Handshake. You'll log in, you won't actually see the actual postings, but you'll see the instructions of how to access the EY website, and that has all of the specifics of the postings up there. The deadline to apply is the 8th, so you only have 3 days left, but it's a pretty simple process. You just need to submit a resume and an unofficial transcript. You are definitely allowed to apply to more than one position. I do ask that you limit those, because, you know, we will be the ones on the flip side of that, kind of seeing what you most qualify for. So definitely read through the job descriptions carefully about who is the ideal candidate for these positions. Internships are for folks 1 year away from being able to start full time. So more often than not, it would be juniors or the junior summer between junior and senior year. Then you would start full time, obviously, after your senior year. If for some reason you're planning a master's or something like that, obviously that plan gets kind of bounced out. So outside of that, I mean, Warren kind of touched on it earlier, but there are 2 rounds of interviews. The first is a pre-recorded video interview. The second round would be 2 behavioral interviews and a case study, similar to kind of what we walked through today. So if you have any
Kristen, we lost you there. If maybe you're still on.
Sorry, I went on mute. I put my name and email address into the chat, so feel free to shoot me an email if you have any questions at all. Mark can also share that, obviously, with the greater team of folks here. So other than that, I thank you guys for attending, and you know, hopefully we see your applications come through soon.